Hi, this is another declutter, and this will be the third and the last big declutter I will do this year. So for the previous two declutter, if you want to see it, I have a playlist in the description box. If you want to see that, just check the playlist. So the first declutter, I basically decluttered things that's too old and things that I don't like. And the second one, I decluttered things that even though I like, but I basically did not reach for that much. So for this third one, I'm gonna declutter in a way that if it's the same type of a product, then I will just size down. It's like if it's a tinted moisturizer, I don't need 10 different tinted moisturizer. I only need 1 or 2. And if it's like a blush, I like a peachy cream blush, but I probably do not need all these 10 different peachy cream blush. So I probably can only keep 1 or 2 and declutter the rest. So that's what I'm gonna do today. And today, obviously, as you can see, it's about the base. It's powder and like powder foundations and liquid foundations, concealers, all of those things. So let's just begin with foundation. So at the beginning of this year, I have over 70 foundations. So the first time I downsized it to I think about 30 to 40. And now I think I have about maybe 20, let me count. So for liquid form, foundation, tinted moisturizer, that kind of thing, I have 17, I think. My goal is under 5, actually. So I still think 5. Oh, actually I have another one that's in my everyday drawer. Okay, now we have 18 foundation. I think a more medium to full coverage one and 1 to 2 medium coverage one and 1 to 2 sheer coverage one would be enough for a person, maybe even more than enough for a person to use, because foundation do go bad pretty quickly. So the intro got too long, let's just begin. So the first one is this Chanel Sublimage, I believe. The foundation. I think this this actually is one of my favorite. Like I downsized to 18 from over 70, so of course what left here are all favorite. But I feel like this is more of a sheer to medium or like a light to medium coverage. Let me pull out different ones that like with this that's in this same category, which is light to medium. I think, let's see. So you can see these 5. They are all like light to medium coverage foundation. Some leaning more to medium and some leaning more to light. I think I want to, because these two, the SUQQU one, the SUQQU, the cream foundation, and this Chanel one, they are very, very similar. They are almost the same finish and the same coverage. But I just prefer SUQQU just a hair more because I think this is more smooth looking on my skin as I have big pores, and that is pretty important for me when it comes to foundation. So I think I can declutter this Chanel one, even though it's such a good solid foundation. And people compare this one to the La Beige one, I believe, and I hated that one quite a bit because that one sink or stuck into my pore pretty badly, which this one do not. So yeah, I really love this one, but yeah, I don't think I need this one because it's very similar, but I prefer the SUQQU one a little bit more. And also on top of that, I did not use this that much. I think maybe 2 to 3 times. And it's in a pretty good condition. I even have a brush with it. So I think that's better to pass to the next person. And this one is a Japanese department store brand. It's called Addiction, and this is the foundation. In a period of time, I did like this, but now I don't use it that much because I have this. This is really just my favorite Holy Grail foundation. So I think this one can go as well. And this is another one that's similar to this SUQQU foundation actually. And yeah, it's pretty great. I feel like if SUQQU is not very easy to access to you, and you like this kind of like a very subtle glowy kind of foundation, and I think you can try this one, the Kogendo Moisture Foundation. It's very great. I'm in the shade 13, and it's a pretty good shade for my light medium olive skin tone. So I actually really like this one, but like I said, it's pretty close to the SUQQU one. So yeah, I think I can let another person to use that. The next is this RMS Beauty Uncover Up Cream Foundation. This is actually a weird foundation. I think this foundation only works when I apply it with my finger. And it's almost the same consistency with their Uncover Up concealer. And I do like that concealer, especially apply it with finger. I think it might because of the ingredient coconut oil. I believe there's coconut oil in all of their products. It's their thing. Maybe it's the coconut oil just need the skin temperature to melt it down, so their product just works much better with your finger. Yeah, I think this is a pretty unique foundation, and it's still pretty new in my collection, and I do want to figure out if I can make the best of it. And also, like I said, it's pretty close to their concealer, and I think I also can use this as a concealer if I want. So yeah, I want to keep that. So down to 2 for this category. Now let's assess the medium to full coverage foundation. So for this one, it's actually pretty hard because I actually like a lot of the foundation in this category. But the problem is nowadays I just don't use medium to full coverage foundation that much anymore. So yeah, it's probably not necessary for me to keep 5. This one is the one in my project pan, and I did not update on my project pan for a long time. But I feel like this foundation is not for me anymore. I feel like it's a little bit drying, maybe. So yeah, I think this foundation is just, it was once one of my favorite, but now is, like I said, it's just not my favorite kind of foundation anymore, even though it's beautiful. Even though it was in my project pan, I just prefer to get rid of it. And this is the Armani Power Fabric High Cover Foundation. This foundation is actually really nice. The color is actually pretty great. It's 4.5. It's a pretty great shade for my light medium olive skin tone. And it looks so smooth and it's very long lasting. But there's one thing. I don't know if my skin cannot take full coverage foundation anymore or what, but I do have like a very small pimple after I use this. It's like not the ones that's like super active, super like a mountain-like the ones. It's more like the little small ones that if you kind of touch it or kind of like not massage but just like put your finger on it and rub it, it will just go away, like that kind of thing. It's not a serious problem, but I feel like I would just prefer to not use a foundation. That can give me a problem, even though the problem is not big. It's like my SUQQU foundation never do that for me, so yeah, I think I'm gonna let that go. So the next one is a little hard. This 3 foundation. I like them all, but I'm just not sure which one should I keep, or should I keep any? I feel like I can let this one go. This is the Forever Natural Nude. It's actually pretty close to this, just the Forever foundation. So yeah, I think I can let this one go, but I want to put these 2 in the maybe pile. Let me just assess this later. The rest of my collection are actually basically all tinted moisturizers or things like that, like very light coverage ones. And there is six of them. And oh, there's more than 6. There is 7. The first one, this is actually from a Japanese department store brand. It's called Lunasol. This is actually called watery oil liquid. It's like a serum foundation, but the coverage is actually less than a tinted moisturizer. So it's really just kind of correct your skin tone, and that's it. I love it, but actually it's pretty liquidy, so it's kind of hard to use in the sense of if you put it on the top of your hand and it just runs down your hand very quickly. So that's not a big thing at all, but for some reason it just prevents me from using this. I think it's the littlest thing that just keep you from using a product, and that's the thing with this one, because it's too liquidy. I have to worry about if it's like dripping from my face and get onto my clothes if I directly apply this on my face. And if I'm put on the back of my hand, then it's like I worrying about it running too quick and ending up on the ground. And even if put on the plate, it will be like too liquidy and hard to pick up. So yeah, it's a good product. I do like it, but I just feel like it's because of that I just do not reach for it very often. So this one can go. And this is the Milk Makeup, I think is the Sunshine Skin Tint, and I am in the shade Light. This is a very great skin tint. It actually has a pretty full coverage for a skin tint. It's probably compared to a light medium coverage foundation, and it's pretty transfer proof, which is also very hard to see in a skin tint. But the thing is, this shade Light is a little bit light for me. So even though in the tube you will see like it's like 1 to 2 shades darker than my skin, somehow if I rub it on my skin, blend into my skin, it look a little bit lighter. So I think I probably should not keep a shade that's off for me. So this 5 actually. This Armani one, it's a very good moisturizer, but for some reason I just do not reach for it that much. I think it's because there's nothing wrong with it. It's a pretty foundation or like a tinted moisturizer. But the thing is, you just do not reach for something if there's nothing too standing out from it. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. It's like everything is good, everything is nice, nothing wrong with this foundation, but at the same time there's nothing standing out from this foundation, this tinted moisturizer, so you just kind of rarely think of using it. So yeah, I think this one can go as well. And this two, I actually really like this two. They are both like MAC face and body kind of stuff. It's even less coverage than a normal tinted moisturizer, but I do love both of the two. But I feel like it's because of the COVID, and whenever I'm wearing a mask, these two just, I don't know, they break down under a mask in a pretty ugly way. I don't know how to describe it, but I just feel like other foundations in my collection perform way better under a mask. I mean, nowadays I do not really wear makeup outside that much anymore, but at the same time, since other foundation just perform better under mask, then why just use the other foundations and let these foundations go? Even though I love both of them, let's say one day I used up all of my foundation, we never need to wear a mask to public anymore, I probably will consider repurchase these two even. But I think right now, I actually live in Japan and we still require people to wear a mask. So yeah, I think these two can go for now because foundation go bad pretty quickly. I don't want to let them just sit in my collection and getting old, getting off during me waiting when we don't have to wear a mask anymore. So yeah, letting them go. Actually, the point of doing a declutter, especially for foundation, it's not that these are not good. It's just having too much of them is just letting the good things going bad in your collection, which is a waste, especially because they are good. They need to be used by somebody, you know? So yeah, the two left, one is this new stick, tinted blur stick. I mean, it's okay. In one period of time, this is very hyped on YouTube and everybody mentioned this. I just don't get the hype. I feel like it does nearly nothing. I mean, it does something. It's not bad. It's okay, but it does not do like a miracle on my skin as other people mention. So I feel like I can let this go. Yeah. And this Ilia one, it's actually a newer purchase in my, well, newer. It's actually more than half a year ago at this point, but I do really like this tinted moisturizer and it's very, very glowy. It's like kind of a little bit oily, kind of glowy, but I sometimes do want that kind of look and it's gonna be very great for the winter season. So yeah, I want to keep this one. So, oh, actually there's another foundation. It's from the RCMA and this is their series favorite palette. It's actually pretty great. It's a pretty great foundation. And it's actually, I think it's more of like a medium coverage. Let me check. Yes, I think this is more of a medium coverage foundation. Actually, even though it's very handy, don't know if I really reach for this that much to keep it. So yeah, maybe I think this can go as well. And these two foundation, I don't know. I feel like nowadays I just don't reach for this kind of medium coverage foundation anymore. If I do, I probably will just use my SUQQU foundation. So yeah, maybe shocking, but I think it's probably better to find these two a new home for other people can enjoy them more, because I feel like even if I keep them in my collection, it probably will not get that much of use for the current preference of me. So yeah, shockingly we only left with 3. And let me put them into this container. Actually, at the beginning of the year, I was filling this container with foundation fully, like without any section. And even though the foundation is like overflowing on my store, and now I'm only keeping 3, which is kind of impressive if you ask me. So for concealer, let's just ignore all of these like miscellaneous stuff that's irrelevant with today's declutter. I think I might have 4 concealer. One is the one I mentioned, the RCMA and Cover Up one. That's in my project pan and it's nearly done. So I do want to keep that and use it up. So for these 3, one is from Dior and another one is from Pat McGrath and a palette from Surat. The palette is actually pretty nice. It has 2 color and 1 powder, but I just feel like I never reach for it because I don't know, I feel like in this kind of palette it just leads me to think that I might need a brush which I rarely wear apply foundation or concealer with a brush. And also I know you can use your finger, but I just feel like every time I look at this palette, I just think of I need a brush. So I just do not reach for it as much as I want. And on top of that, I feel like I never reach for this powder for some reason. Maybe I just prefer to use my loose powder to set my whole face and there's no separate powder needed for like a very specific area setting. I do not need a separate powder, so I just never reach for that. So because of that, because I do not get a full use of this whole palette, I think I can let it go. And on top of that, I feel like it's in a pretty good condition actually. I do not use it that many times. So yeah, I think I can let that one go. And for the Pat McGrath and Dior concealer, let me swatch. The Pat McGrath one probably is too full coverage for me right now. Like I rarely use a concealer that is this full coverage, and the Dior one, I don't know. I feel like the Dior one is a little bit too deep for me, and I am debating should I keep this to mix with another concealer. Let's say the RMS concealer that I'm trying to use up. Yeah, I think that's what I can use it for because I do like this texture. It's like a medium coverage concealer. It's not full coverage, which I actually like. So yeah, I think I want to declutter this Pat McGrath one because yeah, I think it's a little bit too full coverage for me right now. Even though I like it and I can sheer it up as well, but I feel like concealer, they just all do the same thing for me. And I sometimes don't even use concealer, I just use foundation, and I can use foundation as a concealer as well. So I feel like if I'm keeping foundation, there's no need for me to keep that much of concealer. So I think one is enough. And on top of that, it's a pretty good olive color, so I can actually mix this with other foundation to adjust color, the color because I have a pretty olive skin undertone. This is a pretty success declutter, and I think for all of these empty space I can fill in other product like blush, like cream blush, cream highlight, cream bronzer, things like that. Next, let's assess these powders. These are pressed setting powder and pressed powder foundation, and these are all loose powders. Let's look at this section first. So this one is from Pat McGrath as well. I think this is a similar concept with this very famous Charlotte Tilbury powder. And in my opinion, the Charlotte Tilbury powder is very similar to this Armani Luminous Silk Compact powder. And I actually think the Armani one is better than the Charlotte Tilbury one. I don't know why. This one is a touch dry. It's just a touch dry on my skin. And I don't even have dry skin. I have normal skin. It's very normal. I don't know why. So I think I can keep the Armani one as it's my favorite. And I can declutter this two. And the Pat McGrath one is pretty much untouched. I think I probably used it once or twice. I really liked it, but I do not need to keep it. So there's one keep. And this is a powder. It's actually a skincare powder, weirdly enough. It's like a brightening skincare kind of powder from the brand Maquillage. This was actually a gift from a friend, and I was going to keep this among many declutter because this was a gift, but it's like I just don't use it. Why do I keep it if I don't use it, right? It's like if other item that never goes bad, I think I can keep it because it's a memory item. It's a gift from a friend. But makeup do go bad. I think it's better to have someone else to enjoy it, to not let it go into waste. This is actually just a compact. It's not a powder foundation, so yeah. I think I can let that one go. I think it's because I wanted to try a powder foundation from this brand. It's called Maquillage. It's a daughter brand from of Shiseido. But I just never did try that powder, so this compact just never went into use. And it's a pretty beautiful limited edition compact, so I think maybe someone else can use it. And this is a powder foundation from SUQQU. I do have two color. I think I bought this one as it's too dark, and I bought this one instead, following that one. And this section is actually for sponge, but I just put the refill I had, and I think I can just, you know, use this to create a base. And I do really love this formula. I feel like a lot of powder foundations, they just do not look as good, as like fine, as natural as a foundation could look on my skin. It's at the best just a little bit cakey, but it was never not cakey at all. But this powder foundation is really not cakey at all. It just feels like I applied a light medium nice foundation, light medium coverage nice foundation, and put a subtle amount of powder, and it still have glow, and it's natural, and it just looks so good. It's something different, something special about this formula. I don't know how to describe it. I just love it. So I'm just gonna keep this. And this is the light reflecting setting powder from NARS. I was going to use the little bit left in here, but it's like mostly not gonna get onto my brush or my puff, so I think I'm just gonna declutter this as empty. And I think this is the second one that I used up. The first one, when I come into this stage, I kind of crushed all of the powder and take off this thing and repressed it. And for this formula, for some reason, repressing it does not work. It makes it very chunky. So I think, yeah, it's pretty much gone. Like you can see, it's pretty much all gone. So I think it's okay just to declutter it. And it's pretty old, actually. So the next is a powder compact. It's just a compact there for you carrying powder around. And I do want to keep this compact as it's pretty handy. It can hold a little bit of loose powder, which is hard to find such a thin compact for loose powder. So I would love to keep this one actually. And this is a brand called Benefic. It's a Japanese department store brand. I think this is owned by Shiseido as well, if I'm not wrong. And it's pretty nice. It's pretty nice, but I don't reach for this because since I got this SUQQU one, the SUQQU one is much better and it's the same concept. It's all medium coverage foundation, powder foundation. So I feel like keeping this one is just feel like there's no need to keep other priced powder foundations. Because I feel like it's not like liquid form. There's a lot of different finishes. When it comes to powder foundation, they all ended up in a similar finish. What's important is just if the formula is good or not. So I just feel like if I have one that's in a good formula, I do not have to keep more. Which will come to this Fenty Beauty one. It's barely touched even, so I think it's okay for me to, find another home for this one. It's pretty new. And this is a powder foundation from Albion. It's a luxury Japanese brand as well. I think this brand is owned by Kanebo, and it's their Sweet Moisture Chiffon powder foundation. It's pretty nice as well, but like I said, I have the SUQQU one, so I just don't think I need another one. And which that is a very success declutter. I only left with 3 and one is just a case. And oh, there's another one. This is from a Korean brand called Eclipse, I think. I actually want to keep this one because it's like quite a brightening color, and I think sometimes I want a more brightening color for me to use when let's say when I used a little bit too dark concealer. Yeah, I think it's okay to keep that one. This is a powder from Cover FX. It's not the very famous one. It's the matte setting powder, and this is actually also in my project pan, and I'm not sure if I should just use this up or declutter this. Let me assess a little bit later. So for all of the powders, this RCMA one, it does not have that much left because I shared about half of this to my friends, so that's why there's only that much left. And this is just empty container I bought to use this one because this container is so hard to use. So I feel like if it's only this much, I probably just better to use it up like in this container. So yeah, I think it's better for me to keep it as it's actually quite a nice powder. And this one is a difficult one. It's from Surat. This powder is so messy. It's in a compact that you think it will not be messy, but it's actually so messy. And there's only, I think it's like 1.2 or 1.8 gram of powder. And it's very, very expensive. I feel like even though I don't want to declutter it, but now I feel like the powder just all gone. I did not use it up, but the powder just seems all gone. Like it looks empty in there, which is so weird because it's such a nice powder and I do liked the formula, and it's so expensive that I don't want to get rid of it, but at the same time it's like it seems empty. So yeah, I think this is a throwing away kind of product. The next will, oh my god, this is so messy. Let's close this. Okay, this is from, oh okay, have to covering it because it's so messy, it's getting everywhere. It's the Guerlain powder. Never know how to pronounce that brand. Yeah, like you can see, it's very, very, very messy. But it's a good powder, and it's one of the only ones that I have that's like a loose powder that has a little bit of coverage, which I sometimes like. So since this is the only powder in that category and it's so messy that's impossible to pass to another person, I think it's just better if I keep it and use it up. Let's wipe all of these other powder down. Okay. So we are left with these 4 powder. I think these 4 are all the same kind of category. They are all that kind of translucent loose powder that do not have much color to it. It's basically they all have this light skin color, like a beige color tint to it, but at the same time they are like pretty similar in finish. So I feel like it's okay if I just keep one. They're all very nice. They're all good powders. So this one is from Addiction. The brand that I mentioned is a Japanese department store brand. And this is Kojendo, also a luxury Japanese brand. It's the My Fancy Natural Lighting Powder. And this is the Chanel Natural Finish Loose Powder. And this is the SUQQU Sheer Loose Powder. I think I want to keep the SUQQU one and declutter these 3. Because like I said, they are basically all the same powder. But I feel like the SUQQU one is just more seamless. Just a hint more seamless. So yeah, I think I'm gonna let these 3 go as well. And yeah, this is the powder I'm gonna keep. And this Cover FX powder, I feel like since I kept this powder and the SUQQU one and the very messy Guerlain one, I think it's okay to declutter this one. Even though it's on my project pan, I barely used it. So yeah, I think it's okay to let it go, to let another person to use this. That's pretty nice. Like, it was full screen of product and it only left with this, like a little bit. Only this is only 2 loose powder and 2 pressed setting powder and 1 powder foundation and 3 kind of liquid formed foundation. And just decluttered, let me count. I decluttered 15 foundation, 2 concealer, and 3 powder foundations, and 2 pressed powder, and 5 loose setting powder, which is impressive actually. I think I'm cutting off like 80% of my base collection. Yeah, this is pretty successful and I'm really happy with what I achieved today. And thank you for watching. I think next week will be either blush or bronzer highlight and things like that. So yeah, thank you for watching. Bye.